Hello everyone, back tuning into today's second video. Going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days. For today's second video, about to take us to around the 23rd of September. So we're going into the second half of the month with the week 10-day video updates now, of course. We'll extend out beyond that for the extended GFS and ESAM ensembles. They run to around a couple of weeks. That gets us towards late September now. And we'll have a look at October with FSV2 in a moment as well, or at the end of the video. We've released JMA Fridays, that's a month-ahead look ahead. We've got pretty decent agreement actually within the two models. One of high pressure for the rest of September, but we get to October. Looks like autumn could be arriving then for the early part of October. Have a look at JMA Friday when you're done with this video. See what's going on there. Right, we're going to start off in the tropical Atlantic as usual. This time of the year. So this is from the National Hurricane Centre, of course. We've got three areas of interest. We've got this red X9 just here, more about that in a moment, and two yellow X's over there. Let's deal with this one first. Well, it's been around for a little while. It's disturbance 1 with a 10% chance of cyclone formation in the next 48 hours. They are saying that with this one, a tropical wave located midway between the Cabo Verde Islands and the Antilles is producing a large but disorganized area of cloudiness and showers. Conditions are expected to become more conducive for development in the next couple of days, and a tropical depression could form early next week while the system moves westward across the tropical Atlantic. Just a 10% chance this becomes a tropical storm in the next 2 days, but a 50% chance in the next 5 days. So that could be one to watch next week. I also got this yellow X just here. It's disturbance 2 with a 0% chance of cyclone formation in the next 48 hours. With this one, they're saying a tropical wave is located, another tropical wave is located a few hundred miles southeast of the Cabo Verde Islands. Slow development of this system is possible during the next several days while it moves westward across the tropical Atlantic. So this one is a new disturbance area and doesn't look like it'll do a great deal in the foreseeable future, but obviously at this time here, any of these disturbance areas need to be kept a close eye on. And then we've got the red X just here in the Bahamas, of course. So that one is potential tropical cyclone 9. And at the moment, it's giving 30-mile-an-hour sustained winds with a central pressure of 1,009 millibars, and it's moving northwest at 6 miles per hour. Tropical cyclone formation in the next 2 days is high at 80%. That's even higher in the next 5 days at 90%. It looks very, very likely that this will become our next named tropical storm, and that will be Humberto, unless one of these yellow X's rapidly develops and pips it to the post. It looks as though potential tropical cyclone 9 will very shortly become tropical storm Humberto. So this is the expected forecast track for this system, but we think it's going to become tropical storm Humberto. At the moment in the Bahamas, it becomes a tropical depression actually today, and it's up to tropical storm status by tomorrow. So expect this to be named either today or tomorrow. And then the forecast track is to move this sort of up the east coast of Florida, up there, and then up to the coast of the Carolinas, so Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina coastal area. Remember, it's by the time you get through to the middle of next week, it's got a very wide area that we could have this storm in. So, of course, the further out you go, the greater the chance that it could cover anywhere in that area. But the central sort of track is having around there by Tuesday. So it looks like this will be our next named tropical storm Humberto, likely to be named, I would have thought, either later today or tomorrow, and we'll be keeping close on it. At the moment, they're just keeping this as a tropical storm. It's not being forecast to go up to hurricane status, but then you'll remember for quite a while what became what became Category 5, Hurricane Dorian, was only forecast to be kind of like a tropical storm or like a Category 1 hurricane, and then it underwent very, very rapid major development. That hadn't really been forecast in the days before it all that well. So at the moment they keep this as a tropical storm, but obviously it needs to be kept an eye on. If it remains in the warm waters of the tropical Atlantic, it could strengthen and become stronger, become a hurricane. So all eyes will be on what I think is going to be Tropical Storm Humberto in the days ahead. And it's in a very similar area as well to where we had Dorian, interestingly. Right, back close to home, these are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. Looking at Birmingham today, red line here is a 30-year upper air temperature average for Birmingham. We're close to average with the upper air temperatures at the moment. We're going to be lifting up over the weekend, then dropping briefly as we get through into the early part of next week before lifting up again. It looks as though generally through to the final week of September, that's that period just there. It looks as though the temperatures are going to generally be on the warmest side. Probably signs of a drop in the temperature as we go through into the final week of September, this period just here, but of course that is very extended rain stuff. Precipitation wise, loads of dry weather coming up over the next week. We remain with high pressure dominating, and there's going to be a lot of dry weather to come through the final week of September. Again, similar to what I've been seeing within the ensemble output over the past couple of days, there are hints, perhaps a little bit more than hints, that weather will turn more unsettled through the last week of September. So again, as we've been saying in videos all week, any change to completely unsettled autumnal conditions will be at the earliest the last week of September. Temperature anomalies from the 13th to 21st of September are close to or a little bit above average for England and Wales, maybe slightly below average for Scotland. It's not a big deviation either way, but I would think we're probably just about on the modern average side through most parts of the country. And that's the precipitation anomaly from the 13th to 21st of September, and it's significantly drier than average again as well. Been the case all week with these anomaly charts that we have been flagging up this very dry weather that is on the way. So this is how the GFS is looking for Monday, and we're going to find on Monday that high pressure is dominating weather, but it's pulling a little bit out to west of the country, allowing some slightly cooler, fresher air into the north and the east. In the course of next week, high pressure is dominant again, so this is like middle of next week, Wednesday 18th of September. High is right over top of the country, so it will be dry and fine, maybe quite chilly by night, but by day I would have thought reasonably pleasantly warm in the sunshine. That takes us through to the second half next week. No changes really up to a week away. Friday 20th of September, the high pressure remains anchored, rooted over the top of the UK and much of northern Europe as well. Moving up towards day 10, similar to what the GFS has been showing for a few days, beginning to slip that high pressure away to the east. So we're getting up towards day 10. The high pressure, instead of being centred sort of over the top of the UK, is centering itself over towards eastern parts of Europe. And by the time we get through to day 10, which is Monday the 23rd of September, so just going into the final week of September more or less, it's starting to turn more unsettled then. Low pressure beginning to break through into the north anyway. Still reasonably high pressure to the south, but I think even there we could be starting to see some showers breaking out. And then we go into more extended range. That's probably the remains of what we think is going to be Tropical Storm Humberto there, by the way, coming into the North Atlantic by Tuesday, 24th of September. But we go into the extended range with this GFS run. And high pressure never all that far away, but gradually we find ourselves going into a more unsettled situation. Again, we've got some sort of tropical feature or remains of a tropical storm or hurricane just there. That's as far as we go, by the way, with this GFS run, Sunday the 29th of September. And at this point, it does look as though we are beginning to get ourselves into a more unsettled and perhaps rather cooler phase of weather as well. So still hints are there that last week of September could start to see a bit of a breakdown to these consistent areas of high pressure, but until then, we're high and dry. This is the GEM, and again, we've got lots of high pressure dominating through the course of next week. It's going nowhere fast, so it will be really dry across many parts of the country next week. Probably starting off quite chilly. I suspect temperatures recover through the week, but the nights could be quite cold, and we may have to think about mist and fog patches as well, early and late. That gets us through to the following weekend. So we're going Saturday, 21st of September. Again, we've got the remains of what we think is going to be Humberto just there in the North Atlantic, or just coming into the North Atlantic by that point. And this particular GM run starts to then weaken the high pressure, and we begin to get low pressure developing down to our southwest. As far as we can go is to Monday, the 23rd of September. It looks like it's starting to turn more unsettled. We've got this area of low pressure just here to our southwest. That's starting to bring up some weather systems. Of course, we've got the remains of Tropical Storm Humberto just there. That could push in that direction as well. So gradually the Atlantic looks like, as we move towards the final week of September, looks like the Atlantic is beginning to start getting itself into a rather more active phase, possibly signs of more unsettled conditions for the last week of September. And we've got the ECMWF as well, high pressure dominating through much of next week. So the high pressure is just out to our west. We are allowing some cooler air in to the north and the east of the country in particular, but the high pressure is very, very strong and dominant up to the end of next week. This is Friday, 20th of September, a week away. We've got a 1035 millibar area of high pressure over the top of the UK, so that is going to bring lots and lots of dry weather with it. Then we go through up towards day 10, and that high pressure again, it's slipping over towards that eastern side of Europe. We are actually drawing up some very warm southerly winds there as the high pressure slips, but you'll notice low pressure is beginning to start developing in the Atlantic. There's the remains of that tropical feature just there. And we get to day 10, and that's how we're looking. Again, same idea, gradually breaking this region out. It's not a quick process, but by day 10, definitely looks as though particularly northern and western parts of the country are beginning to turn more unsettled. Probably still mainly dry down in the south, but even there it does look as though pressure is weakening. Now, we did have a discrepancy within JMA Friday between the JMA and the CFS, where the JMA model was suggesting that the last week of September could see a breakdown, something rather more unsettled, whereas the CFS wanted to keep that high pressure going through the last week of September and didn't break it down until early October. So there was that discrepancy between the two long-range models. It looks as though the shorter range is very much starting to move now towards a more unsettled pattern for the last week of September, but this is a long way off, and I suspect a lot of this is being influenced by the remains of this tropical storm type feature that we have just there at day 10. So it depends, probably a lot of this depends on the track of that of the remains of that tropical storm. Where it goes will probably have a fairly big impact on whether we turn things unsettled or just keep the high pressure going into the last week of September. So expect changes on that idea. These are the options are on the table within the CFS, within the ECM ensembles today at day 10, which is the 23rd of September. So we have 20 members of the ECM ensembles at day 10, still with high pressure sort of to our east and northeast, still dominating the weather. Low pressure is out to the Atlantic. So it's trying to turn more unsettled, but the ridge is still, with these 20 ridges still in control. We have 19, including these ECM control and operational run, that have this ridge close to the country. Again, low pressure is developing out in the Atlantic. This low pressure is putting the ridge under pressure, if you like. So gradually the Atlantic and northern and western parts of the UK potentially are starting to turn a little bit more unsettled, but even up to day 10, generally high pressure is still quite strong. And then there's a minority option, but 12 just here have low pressure well and truly in control. So they've broken down the ridge completely, and they have us in genuinely autumnal conditions. That is a minority option for day 10, but it's a possibility. I think up to day 10, probably we just about hang on to the high pressure event. I would have thought there's a chance anyway it breaks after that. These are the options that are on the table in 2 weeks' time. So this gets us to the 28th of September. We have 14 members of the ECM ensembles with high pressure out to the northwest. So that could be a little bit unsettled, maybe more than you would think looking at the colours of the chart. For more southern areas, that could bring rain into the south. Driest weather will be out to the northwest. 14 members with high pressure just sitting to our east, low pressure out to the northwest. This ridge is being put under pressure, but still just about clinging on. 11 with high pressure out to our west, and low pressure, that's quite a deep trough actually, to our east through Scandinavia, going down into central parts of Europe. That would be quite cool. Maybe for eastern areas showery. 8 members of the eastern ensembles with lots of low pressure up to the north, bringing the jet stream through like that. They're unsettled. And then we have 4, a minority option, that are the most unsettled of all, with low pressure over the top of the country. I think the further on we go into the end of September, the greater the chance that we will start to punch the Atlantic through. Finally, just having a look at CFS V2 for October. This is the 700 millibar height anomaly today from the CFS for October. It has lots of low pressure up to our north. It has a ridge out to the west of the country and also a little bit to our east. Jet stream is probably doing something a bit like that. So it's a very complicated pattern, and it may actually be a little bit more unsettled than you might envisage again from the colours, because I think the jet stream will probably do something a little bit like that. So there is a little bit of a trough within the 500 millibar flow, despite a ridge being relatively close to the country. Temperature anomalies for October being forecast by the CFS to be warmer than average, and no signal for precipitation. I suspect we're going to start to break down this ridge late September and into October. How long we break it down for, though, is going to be interesting, because I have a feeling as we go into October, although we might start off on quite an unsettled note, I have a feeling it probably won't take us long to get that high pressure again. I do think that September and October, as we flagged up in the autumn forecast, are likely to be largely anti-cyclone. Not completely, there will be deviations, of course. You're not going to get a high pressure, or very rarely will you get a high pressure extending out for 8 weeks without any interruptions at all. I mean, occasionally you will get that, like in the summer of 1976, and perhaps last summer to some degree, also summer 1995. You can sometimes sustain high pressure over many, many weeks, but it's unusual to do that. Generally, you'll get interruptions. So I think we will get an interruption towards high pressure late September into early October, but my guess is that we'll get ourselves back to high pressure quite quickly, as we flagged up in the autumn forecast, and then perhaps November does something different. We shall see about that. But certainly for the next week to 10 days, high pressure still is remaining dominant. Increasing hints, increasing chances of something more unsettled in the closing week of the month. I will be back tomorrow with week head forecast, of course, always on Saturday. Got your weekend look ahead, and also we'll have another week to 10 day and beyond video update as well for you tomorrow, Sunday. We got the third winter 2019-2020 update, so that's going to be a really interesting watch. Hopefully 2 updates in so far. They seem to have gone down quite well. So update number 3 for winter 2019-2020 will be with you on Sunday, and of course there'll be a live discussion on the YouTube channel, taking your questions about that winter update at 5 o'clock on Sunday afternoon / Sunday evening. Right, that's all for now though, and thanks for watching.